Knowledge. Let people know. Remind them, because if you are aware that you're breathing radiation every second of the day, you might change your life a little bit and do a little bit more cleansing and be more wary when you're outside, and maybe do a little bit more cherry juice for your heart and take more vitamins and do more cleansing. And understand that a lot of what happens to you may not be your fault, which is what, the doctors and everybody wants you to believe, that whatever happens to you is something that you brought on. And it could be also something that's aggravated by the high radiation that we're breathing, the chemical trails in the sky, the GMO products, and all the rest of the good stuff. And, we're getting blasted all the time by electromagnetic energy. So combine all that. And it really takes a lot of effort to stay healthy. I make extra effort, that's for darn sure. And, when I've got to take those vitamins, I am on it. Because I know if I don't, it's only going to hurt me. And, I like being healthy and I like to be able to do things. So just, remember, we have a lot of radiation in the air, and share that with your friends so they can stay healthy and, make sure their children are healthy. And if their children are outside a lot, they're going to do what's right to help protect them and to keep them healthy. So, knowledge is power. So be conscious and share. So we just went through Labor Day, and boy, I don't know about you guys and what you think about unions, but I think unions rock. And maybe I'm old school, but my dad belonged to the union, and he was a tool and die guy in Michigan when they still had factories. And he was part of the people that were on the street creating the unions, and he got his head busted in and ended up in the hospital, which probably kept him out of World War II. However, I grew up understanding the benefits of the union, what can happen when a group of people get together and they really unite and speak in one voice. And we've forgotten that. The government and everyone out there, especially the papers and the governors of the states, they all want to get rid of the unions. Why? Because they know unions are usually the representation of the little guy, people like you and me. And when they come together, they kick ass and they can move mountains because there's more of them than there are the other guys, okay? So they are afraid of people that are in union. And that doesn't mean that, the unions are angelic and they've got a lot of troubles too. But boy, people that work in unions, they get paid pretty well, don't they? And they get good benefits because they've stood up for their rights. And they fought for those benefits. And way back in my dad's day, and he'd probably be about 100 years old now, but he was a tool and die. And back in those days, they wanted people to have skills. Of course, they didn't want you to be in the union, but they wanted you to have skills. So again, look at unions differently and look at all the benefits that the unions have gotten us over the years. If it wasn't for the unions and people sticking up for each other and all the strikes that they've done over, my God, 100 years, which they don't talk about in the history books. It's those people, the common people, that have made changes, incredible changes. So I ran into a couple articles which I thought was really, really cool and kind of had the spirit of Labor Day. And one is by Jim Hightower, who I really honor. And he's got a really cool sense of humor. So this is what he wrote about the rebellious spirit of the first Labor Day is actually spreading anew. And to me, that front line is so exciting. It means people are thinking for themselves and standing up for themselves and saying, no more. It's time for change. All right, so this is what Jim Hightower wrote. It's a bit odd that in the United States, thoroughly corporatized culture, we have no national day of honor for the captains of industry. And yet we do have one for the working stiffs, Labor Day. Now, where did it come from? Who gave us this day off to the laboring people? Now, history books that bother mentioning Labor Day at all usually credit former President Grover Cleveland with its creation. He signed a law in July of 1894 that proclaimed a holiday for workers in Washington, D.C. and the federal territories. But, Grover Cleveland, he was an extreme laissez-faire conservative, a Burman Democrat who never lifted a presidential pinky to help the plight of exploited workers. To the contrary, in that same month in 1894, Cleveland enshrined himself in Labor's Hall of Eternal Infamy at the behest of robber baron George Pullman and other railroad tycoons. Fascism existed way back then, huh? He ordered some 12,000 U.S. Army troops in to crush the historic Pullman strike, which was being led by union icon Eugene Debs. 30 workers were killed. The union icon Debs was arrested on trumped-up charges of conspiracy, and the workers who supported the strike were fired and blacklisted. Far from being a gift to workers, Cleveland's recognition of Labor Day was a desperate political ploy to mollify the anger of the union movement he had just decimated. Boy, is that not skull and bones or what? Say what you mean and do the opposite of what you say. And don't say what you mean. He and his Democratic Party rushed the federal holiday into law only days after his military assault on Pullman strikers. In fact, this day was not given by anyone in power. It was taken by laborers themselves. In a bottom-up act of democratic audacity, this was our first national holiday to be put on the calendar by ordinary people. And they were not just doing it just to get a day at the beach, but to get into the faces of power. Matthew McGuire, a 19th century New York machinist and an unrelenting activist for higher wages and shorter hours, was the first one who first proposed a day-long solidarity rally to focus the forces of labor on reclaiming the democratic rights of workers and gaining a fair share of the wealth they create. Known as the Dauntless McGuire, he was secretary of the fledgling New York Central Labor Union, the CLU, and in May 1882, he called for all 56 unions in the vicinity to make a public show of organized strength. The CLU agreed and set the date of Tuesday, September 5th, for a mammoth festival, parade, and picnic. Adding to the audacity, the Union Council unilaterally declared that the day was to be a holiday for all workers who wanted to leave their jobs and join the action. Doing so was beyond bold, for it could get them fired. The bosses ruled workplaces with iron hands, compelling 12-hour days, 6 days a week, for $2 a day. Sure enough, as the 10 a.m. start time approached, only 80 union members had mustered at City Hall, but then came a faint sound of horns and drums. 200 members of the Jewelers Union from Newark were just minutes away, arriving with a 35-piece marching band. This small group kicked off the parade, and after a few blocks, 400 bricklayers merged with them from a side street, moving in step behind wagons. bearing artistic arches of brick testifying to their skills. At nearly every cross street, more marchers joined. Longshoremen in checkered jumpers, frame makers wearing beaver hats and carrying huge axes, cigar makers with red banners, and singers belting out ballads, piano makers marching with a float bearing a union member pounding out tunes. Thousands of workers paraded, row after row of laborers marching six abreast for miles through what was the most ostentatious corridor of wealth and power in the U.S. In a 1982 article, historian Richard Hunt described the wondrous incongruity of the mass of working-class Americans striding so purposely up Fifth Avenue. They passed August Belmont's house. They trudged on past the Tonish Brunswick Hotel, past the downtown Delmonico restaurant, past the elegant New Union League Club, past the mansion of Vincent Astor. Mrs. Astor, along with many of her millionaire neighbors, was in Newport for the season. Nonetheless, if the consciousness of capitalism was not penetrated, its precinct was, and they were surrounded. The day culminated with a frolicking festival attended by 25,000 in Elm Park, which included the city's biggest beer garden, a dance pavilion, playgrounds for children, and ample picnic areas. And, you know, the guy says, note to present-day organizers, if you want people to turn out, follow the 1882 model of providing beer, music, food, and fun, so people will want to come. It was from this march and festival that both the concept and name of Labor Day was born. When the New York's CLU resolved to do it annually, barons and bosses damn near swallowed their $2 cigars. At such anger, they tried to forbid it. Editorialists decried it as rank ingratitude to the job creators of the day, and the establishment's politicians warned that labor show of strength was anarchy on parade. But workers had found their voice in a measure of class consciousness and a day to focus the public on their cause. And unions quickly spread the idea to other cities across the country. By the time Grover Cleveland finally sanctioned the federal holiday, 23 states had already set aside September 1st, Monday, as labor's own day. It's easy to ridicule what Labor Day has now become for many of us, just as a day off to go golfing, take a swim, watch a ball game, crank up that grill, and do some 12-ounce elbow bands. Oh, yeah, and also hit the malls for the sales. What irony. Labor Day has been turned into a corporate shop-a-palooza by mega chains and big stores requiring millions of low-wage retail employees to put in a full shift on what's supposed to be their day. Think about that one. Boy, talk about putting a knife in the back and twisting it, huh? Ridicule only leads to debilitating cynicism and surrender, the exact opposite of the spirit that created Labor Day, and exactly the defeatism that the corporate order thrives on. So rather than sinking into cynicism, let's notice that one, our modern day George Pullmans and Grover Clevelands have created a new gilded age of gross inequities and worker exploitation. And that this is sparking a rising new rebelliousness among all sorts of workers. Work for Walmart, work for McDonald's. Grassroots movements in the U.S. have come alive with organizing campaigns to reverse the rampant inequities and abuses being perpetrated by the plutocratic powers, fast food workers, and the fight for $15 organizing drives by college professors, Moral Monday, a grand alliance to save our public postal service, our Walmart, United Workers Congress, and grassroots opposition to the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Such uprisings now exist in practically every zip code, from Silicon Valley to most college campuses, from day laborers gathered at your local Home Depot to nannies in the homes of the rich. And new groups are popping up regularly as unorganized, maltreated people not only get fed up, but also see others standing up, getting organized and showing the way. Moreover, with the one percenters grabbing ever more for themselves, the U.S. political zeitgeist is shifting against the grabbers and for the populist rebels. Indeed, the spirit of Matthew McGuire's Labor Day is spreading again across the country. Our Labor Day 2015, let's take the heart in this rising rebelliousness, join the parade, and take part in lifting our society closer to the United States' highest democratic ideals. So, honor those guys that are in unions. Go join one. There's a lot out there. They sure could use it. So again, in honor of labor unions, I came across another article on it, and I want to share that with you. And again, it's called Labor Unions, the Folks Who Gave You the Weekend. The celebration of Labor Day is a good time to remember the role that labor unions have played in raising living standards and improving the quality of life for working people in the United States. While most people recognize that unions have been beneficial for their members, raising pay, improving work conditions, and increasing job security, there's little appreciation of the role of labor unions in promoting benefits and work rules that protect all workers. Unions were crucial in the passage of just about all the benefits and rules that we take for granted today, starting with the weekend. The 40-hour work week became the standard in the 1937 with the passage of the Fair Labor Standards Act. This bill, which also put in place a federal minimum wage, required a premium of 50% of pay for any hours that an employer required in excess of 40 hours a week. Unions had pressed for similar rules for decades, but it took the power of a militant labor movement coupled with a sympathetic president in Congress to finally make the 40-hour work week a standard across the country. This was also the year that the Social Security system was created. Again, the leadership of President Roosevelt was essential, but the Social Security would not have come into existence without the support of the labor movement. There was a similar story with the passage of the Medicare Act 3 decades later. The leadership of President Johnson was important, but there is no way the bill would have passed Congress without the pressure coming from organized labor. These two programs provide a layer of security which is absolutely essential to anyone who is not rich. More than 70% of retirees rely on Social Security for more than half of their income. And trust me, guys, that ain't a big deal. It's not a lot of money, okay? We're talking poor. So very few seniors would be able to afford health care in their last years if it were not for Medicare and its sister program, Medicaid, which, the government wants to get rid of. How nice. But the impact of the labor movement, is not just a historical legacy. In the last several years, many state and local governments have raised their minimum wage, even as the Republican Congress has stymied any efforts at the national level. In every case where a higher minimum wage was approved, either by a legislator or through a referendum, the support of the labor movement has been essential. The same applies to efforts to require paid families on leave and paid sick days. Such measures have now been approved in dozens of cities and states across the country, and in every case, the labor movement has played a leading role. If Congress does eventually require paid family leave and paid sick days, bringing the United States in line with the rest of the world, it would be in large part due to pressure from the labor movement. The majority of Congress will not pass such legislation just because they think it's a great idea. Yeah. The labor movement has also been active in other areas. For example, in many states, including California and New York, unions have been among those pushing for the adoption of a state-managed retirement system that would provide low-cost, portable pensions to all workers in the state. Most members already have pensions, but they recognize that the best way to protect these pensions in the long run is to ensure that all workers can enjoy a decent retirement. There are also indirect benefits from the role that unions have played in U.S. politics. While many unions have not made protecting the environment a top priority, and some have, the representatives they have helped to elect to the House and Senate are almost invariably far more supportive of environmental legislation than the members not supported by organized labor. The prospect for serious measures to cure global warming would go from bleak to zero in a Congress without the candidates who depend on the labor movement for support. And again, there are plenty of things wrong with the labor movement. It can be overly bureaucratic, and there are certainly corrupt officials in many unions. And, that happens with any large organization. But there should be no doubt that the country is much better off as a result of the labor movement, and prospects for progressive change would be brighter and it would be a lot stronger. It's a simple point, but think about it. Labor Day, where would we be without the unions? Go check out your local union that's around you. If you're a carpenter, go check them out, for goodness sake. What unions are in your area? Who needs your support? What do you got to lose? And you got everything to gain. It's our history. If you look up Howard Zinn's The People's History of the United States, and it's our true history, you will see how many times we have struck, the unions have struck, and made progress. They may have gotten hurt, but by God, they may have had forward movement. And you're not going to read that in any kind of school books. They don't want you to know how many times the people have actually risen up in protest. And, what happens when unions come together? And again, that's why the powers that be really want to destroy them and get rid of them. So, go check out your unions. Go read Howard Zinn's The People's History of the United States. And, when I read that history book, I cried. And I couldn't put it down. It was riveting. It's not like the propaganda stuff you're going to read in school. It's our real history. And it's going to give you courage and strength to realize how often people did take to the streets and won. They won. And there's no reason why we can't do the same. Okay, enough on the unions. Before I go into word magic, I wanted to share with you something that I took out also. And this was something from a report from the State Department and the U.S. government. It's 1937. Okay. 1937. So the report of the State Department European Division described the rise of fascism as the natural reaction of the rich and middle classes in self-defense. When the dissatisfied masses, with the example of the Russian Revolution, remember this is 1937, before them, and they see, how well that went, they possibly will swing to the left. Fascism, therefore, must succeed, or the masses, this time reinforced by the disillusioned middle classes, will again turn to the left. The report also noted that if fascism cannot succeed by persuasion, and now they're talking about the fascism in Germany, and again, this is 1937. He said the report said that if fascism cannot succeed by persuasion, it must succeed by force. This is our government saying this. It concluded that economic appeasement should prove the surest route to world peace, a conclusion based on the belief that fascism as a system was compatible to U.S. interests. Boy, that gave me chills. I mean, you kind of look at what's going on today. Okay, so let's get on to word magic. Do you realize what you say and how different words are and their meanings are than what we think they mean? For example, when we use the word gay, well, 200 years ago when they said gay, they weren't saying homosexual, they meant happy. But we're going to talk about word magic, okay? And I want you to pay attention because, again, this is what we're doing, and these are words that we're saying all the time, and you don't have a clue to what you're saying. So backwards and forwards, sideways and mirrored, the mind sees absolutely everything. It's a great holographic computer, which when left to operate normally really does contain both the power and the unlimited information of the cosmos within it. However, with disconnected DNA, our ability to perceive subtle vibrations and their effects within our multidimensional reality has been quite interfered with. With fully connected DNA, a spoken word will cause a vibration that can literally be seen by the human being speaking it. They will see either the harmony or the discord within that vibration, as well as a corresponding color to that vibration, which will then tell them if that vibration will do good things or bad things. They will know whether that vibration is helpful or harmful to them and the other things around them. As they watch the vibration propagate, they will also see the effects of the vibration has on other levels as it's propagated into the ethereal and astral planes from the physical planes. Such is the nature of a totality connected human being with fully operational DNA. Boy, are we screwing disconnected, huh? Well, when your DNA is operational fully, you'll also see both the color and texture of the vibration as it's spoken, along with the feeling of the harmony or the disharmony. And they will see all of this as one complete knowing. A fully connected human is aware on multiple levels. The reason for disconnecting our DNA was very specific in that those who did this did not want human beings to be able to see the effects of their words or the magic that those words hold. It was done so that they could not see the subtle vibrations and thus protect themselves from the harm that their own word spellings would invariably be to those around them and on other levels. So did you get that play on the word spelling? Spell, spell dash ing. So spelling, you're casting a spell with your words. And you don't have a clue to what you're saying. So now this was pretty malicious. It was intentional, and it's a cosmic crime. It was done to render everyone defenseless. The plan was always to enslave poor humans who had been genetically created and genetically manipulated. So word magic is tremendously vast and complex. To understand only a small fraction of it takes a lot of time. So we're going to start really small and take only one or two sacred sounds out of many hundreds, and we're going to look at what they both indicate and cause. So now each spoken or cast word or phrase is a magical spell that carries power, color, vibration, will, intent, and is magnetically charged. If we look at a few word magic spells or magic spellings that people cast almost daily, we will first consider them and then observe what is similar in these 10 words. Okay, so listen up. Listen to these words: rust, lust, crusty, must, musty, disgust, bust, trust, just, justice. Apart from the fact that they all rhyme, they sound the same, due to the ust sound, every one of these magical words tend to indicate a presence of decay. Rust is a decay of metal. Lust is a decay of the mind. Musty is a smell associated with decay. Disgust is the decay of reverence for another. So if we look closely at the similarity of these words, all of them seem to hold an indication of decay within them. If we look at the words that are not nearly as obvious, we can only decipher them if we already know what we're looking for. When we look at the word must, as in you must do this or you must do that, the word must, due to the ust sound, has to indicate decay. It then is not so difficult to see where the decay is once you realize that ust always means decay. Must indicates the decay of your spiritual free will, since no living being, according to the prime creator, must do anything. By using words with similar sounds and then grouping them together, we're able to deduce that those magicians who gave us our language are giving us hidden clues as to what those words actually mean, as opposed to what we think they mean. If someone comes to you and uses the word must in a sentence, as in you must do this, that very word indicates to you a real-time decay of your freedom as the magic spell ing of the word is being cast at you from the one doing the casting with his words. Can anyone find fault with this? Let's look at another example. If you are a kid sitting on the couch watching your television program and your mother comes to say, Timmy, you must do your homework. Timmy's free will in real time has just experienced decay. The actual experience of Timmy's loss of free will, and thus his freedom, will be determined by the tone, the timbre, the will, and intent of the mother casting the word spell on him. If Timmy's personal shields are up, his shields made out of pure love, he can deflect the power of the word spell and negotiate his freedom back to a certain extent. But if he has no shields of love around him, the word spell will definitely have a different effect on his freedom is gone. The commonality of all these words above, as said earlier, is the ust sound, U-S-T. The ust sound, when added to different leading symbols of sacred geometry, each of which has a special meaning, and then cast into the ethers, creates real vibrational decay in various ways due to the nature of the leading geometry and the vibration of the sound being said. And saying it again, we're talking, the spoken word has both vibration and color. The color of ust sound is not pretty to look at. So again, when we look at the word must, there has to be decay somewhere in this word, because the whole purpose of the ust sound is to indicate a presence of decay. Following along this line of thinking, if a sacred sound indicates decay, then also by natural law, it will also have to create that decay in real time if it is used or cast as a spelling at somebody. This happens because in the higher realms or frequencies, there's no difference between intent and what that intent will actually create. There is no time lag between thought and manifestation of thought in the higher frequencies. They're one and the same, and intent is creation's engine. Thus, if one repeats the spell or spelling enough times by speaking it, it actually creates a vibration of decay wherever you're casting it. That's why our enslavers gave us language in the first place. They taught us as little children both the sacred geometry and the sounds that go with that geometry, so that when we cast these spellings out into the ethers through our speech, we would then, by using them constantly, be creating for ourselves our own entrapment and enslavement. They knew that what you repeat often enough in your speech, you would create without knowing it, by having it eventually manifest into the world around you. All right, let me say that one again. They knew that what you repeat often enough in your speech, you will create without knowing it, by having it eventually manifest into the world around you. Remember this from Scripture. When the word goes forth, creation begins. The words that we're using actually create what we use them for. So we, as powerful beings, have been forced by our vicious enslavers to use our own unlimited power of creative force to assist them in keeping us enslaved. So knowing what you know now, consider the word trust. People think trust is very good, but is it really? It has the us sound, which indicates decay, and interestingly, trust, also a banking term, can mean a place that the magicians used to hide value, which is why all banks tell us to place our trust in them. If we place our trust in another human being or some institution like government, for instance, or the police or the courts or judges, to always do what's right without first learning all we need to learn about them, then trust becomes a decay of one's own wisdom. So here is where the decay can be found in this word. Too much trust is the decay of personal power, personal growth, and the knowledge that comes from learning things for one's own self. If we trust all our politicians to do what's right without watching them closely, that's not wise. Trust then finally indicates a decay in our ability to know what we're getting into if we don't do our homework. As I also mentioned, a trust is a kind of financial haven for many people with money. People put their money into trust, but when that money is in a trust, it's not doing anything useful for the planet. So then it creates its creative possibility for positive use is decaying in real time while it sits there doing nothing. All right, so let's consider the words just and justice and realizing these words were given to us by our enslavers. These words also indicate decay because of the ust sound being cast. Justice in our world is the decay of our freedom simply because to bring someone to justice usually ends in incarceration. We don't need justice incarceration. We need balance. So we can see that we have lots of justice going on in America. However, we also have less and less people who are free. Maybe we should be casting a different spelling into the ether to achieve a better result. Remember that our language is given to literally entrap us by those who think they own us. Isn't it interesting that the head of the Supreme Court in America is called Chief Justice? Or more correctly, the chief reason for all the decay happening in America. So to repeat then, what we really want to do is not bring people into justice, but instead bring them into oneness or unity or into love. If we cast these spellings all the time, then we as a group will create far better results for both ourselves and our world. Now consider these 4 words. Frost, lost, cost. Now these words indicate something missing or lacking. Frost is the lack of warmth, lost is the lack of direction, cost is the lack of knowledge, as in not knowing the truth really cost him dearly. So the ost sound indicates lack. For comparison, we have these words which look similar but sound different. Host and ghost. But notice that these words, even though spelled the same, doesn't sound the same as frost and lost. Why not? Who decided that host and lost should not rhyme or have the same sacred sound? This is not accidental. There are no accidents. Here you have 2 magic spellings that have similar geometry, ost, but they sound differently. So it stands to reason that in certain magic spellings, it was determined by the enslavers that you need to place a slightly different sound onto the very same geometry to get a different desired effect in the creative vibration that it would then manifest by the person using that spelling. The most important thing you can know from all of this, however, is that sound and vibration projected into the ethers are created in different ways. So be careful of the words you use, because each word, spell, casts a very different vibration. What you need to know is that sound and vibration are all part of the magical creation of our planetary reality. The work of the now very famous Japanese scientist who just recently passed away, Masaru Emoto, was invaluable in showing us the truth that word vibration actually affecting living things and living tissue. He took pictures of frozen water crystals after talking to them and found that those tiny molecules of water that were spoken to lovingly were beautiful. And those water molecules which were hated were totally ugly and disformed. You know, you should go check him up. He's all over the internet. finally, you really need to understand that reality is always changeable. Right in front of us, the words we are casting, as proved by Emoto's scientific research, are actually creating changes in reality. By the very words we speak, we cast vibrational changes into the fabric of the magnetic hologram, which will then reflect changes in the reality that we're seeing. Casting spellings are actually using magic powers, which is why the spoken word is always used in occult magic spells in the first place. So let's go back to UST. What about bust? If you bust something, it's broken. Then it can decay. But lately, a woman's breasts have also come to be labeled her bust. Do you think that was accidental? If the New World Order intends to get rid of the divine feminine as part of their overall agenda, then her breast, as a sacred symbol, would need to get busted to get rid of the symbol of femininity. So these days, breasts have suddenly become known as busts. In this way, magically, the symbol of her femininity gets broken by casting a spell of decay on them. So the magicians cast a dark spelling on all females by putting a new slang word into our vocabulary so that we're using that word for her breasts. Bust both indicates and creates decay due to the UST us sound. How many women, especially in the US, where the word is very used quite a bit, are now experiencing breast cancer? And probably many of them refer to their breasts as busts. I think I would stop it if I were them. Now, before we say anything more, inserting a new slang word into our vocabulary, just know that these master magicians have huge amounts of the population under mind control. And doing something like this is easier than you think. Adding a new slang term into the mass consciousness for them is actually quite easy. It's as easy as a corny TV show in prime time, or a popular radio show, or a large roadside advertising sign to change how we think. So also notice that those who call themselves the elites always use different words than the ones the commoners use. They pride themselves on their far more expanded vocabulary, but is it just pride? Or are they avoiding using certain words that they know are only for us commoners to use? So finally, let's just say with the us and look at one more word, dust. Here again, ust is used to indicate decay. Dust is a decayed matter and microparticles. In the Catholic Church, during their long holiday called Lent, which in and of itself is a totally interesting word, they have a day called Ash Wednesday. So let's look at what happens on the day they call Ash Wednesday. Everyone goes up to the front of the church and listens to a certain phrase and then gets ashes placed on their forehead in the form of a cross. What does it all mean? The phrase is this: remember that you are dust, and into dust you shall return. That's a magic spell. It is both a spell and a curse. With the spelling, we'll be right back and we'll finish this after the break, guys. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Cathy Bilsky, the Quantum Leap, Let Light Unite on Revolution Radio. And again, this is Tuesday, September 8th. Now, Revolution Radio is listener-sponsored, and nobody gets paid for doing these shows. So we really appreciate all the donations you sent in, and we really hope that you get a return of at least 10,000 back from the creator from whatever you donate. And you can go to their website and look up, they got a donation button, and they also have some other cool products you can get, and you can even order old shows. of everybody, and that's a mutually beneficial experience. You know, you get to have something really lovely, and you know, we keep on air. And if you want more information on me, you can check me out at my website at www.angellightome.com. That's ANGELITEOM.com, where I have some awesome Angelite products. And anybody can be a healer. They glow in the dark, and they're made out of Angelite and crystals. And, you know, they're great for massages or putting under your bed and doing tape overs. And angelite's actually a mineral from South America. If you put in water, it'll slowly dissolve. And if you drink the water, well, I found my bones have gotten stronger, and you know, my hair got thicker, and it keeps growing. So I'm really thrilled. I kind of like got the Godiva thing going. You can also check me out on Facebook under Cathy Bilsky, and I put a lot of my power prayers out on there. You know, the energy work doesn't stop on Tuesday nights. I also do a light circle at my store. I'm in Honoka'a, Hawaii, on the Big Island, and I have a little rock shop there. If you ever want any energy work done, you can contact me through the website, or you can call me at 808-775-9400 safely from 11 to 4. But really, I do have spontaneous days off. It is Hawaii. And I do love to go dolphin swimming. Yeah, ooh. And you can also, let's see, I'm on Google Plus, and I've got a lot of my shows are back up on YouTube, so you can go check out those if you've missed any. And I've got a double soul retrieval that you can listen to if you really, really want some positive forward movement. Just be careful with it. That's all I ask. It's my karma for putting it out. I don't want you to blow yourself out of the water. I have my curse removal, energy balancing on my website, and that you can download for free, and you can do it over and over again. It's kind of like what I call the maintenance program. And you can also, I've got one of my books you can download for free. And, you know, it's very simple, and it helps you connect and remember. I say it's helping you remember everything you've forgotten. You know, how to work with love, and how to know when you're under psychic attack, and, you know, what's the violet flame for, and, you know, real simple stuff. Probably take you 45 minutes to read. And it's something that you can take and really practically apply. So for that, you can go to my website at www.angellightome.com, ANGELITEOM.com. And I also have another book there that costs a whopping $6 that you can get downloaded. And it's what I call more meatier, and I have a lot of my power prayers in it. So you don't have to feel like you're hopeless. You know, something happens in the earth, and just go into the book and look up the power prayer that's appropriate, and just do the energy work and redirect it. You know, we've been talking about words and the meaning of words, and using the power of the spoken word. And, you know, doing prayers and if you do it verbally, that's using the power of the spoken word. Again, a lot of my prayers, you say them out loud, you know, you're using the power of the spoken word, and you're recreating reality. So let's get back. I want to get back now. Before we went on break, we were talking about magic and words and what they really mean. And I hope you really are beginning to get it, and are going to pay more attention to what you say and how you say it. And we were talking about, and I'm going to go over this again, because if you've ever been, if you're in the Catholic Church, or if you're a recovering Catholic, you're going to know what I'm talking about. We were talking about the UST word, UST, and how that really indicates decay. So dust is a decayed matter and microparticles. So in the Catholic Church, during their long holiday called Lent, which in and of itself is a totally interesting word, they have a day called Ash Wednesday. So what does that mean, Ash Wednesday? Now, everyone goes up to the front of the church and listens to a certain phrase, and then gets ashes placed on their forehead in the form of a cross. This is bringing any memories back to you all? So what does it mean? Now, the phrase is this: remember, man, that you are dust, and into dust you shall return. Well, guys, this is a magic spell, and it's both a spell and a curse. What this spelling being cast at you indicates and then creates, because of the ust, is decay. The quick decay of your body due to the use of the word dust. What is being said by the practitioner or the priest is a magic spell and being cast directly at you. You are dust. You are decay, is what he is saying to you and thus creating. So we're going to cancel clear all that. All of us who have went through all that, went through all those Ash Wednesdays and thought we were being really cool. So we're going to call to Michael the Archangel to come forth and cut all that energy, all those ties, and imagine it just being peeled off of you like an onion skin. We send that energy through the violet flame back to God, and you just fill up with your divine essence. And we're going to call the violet flame also just to come from very within and just to clean up all this energy, all your DNA, your cells, your atoms, your molecules, and going backwards and forwards, all your incarnations. So as the spell is being cast at you by the priest and is magically creating that outcome through vibration by use of both sacred geometry and sound, the priest places a cross of ashes, again indicating decay due to the use of ashes, not on your forehead, but on the area associated with cosmic sight or a personal connection to the higher frequencies of the divine. You know, some call it the third eye. The cross that he makes is a hex or a block to close that area so as to deprive you of your own connection to the cosmos. And I'm telling you, but that one kind of pisses me off. I'm going to read it one more time. So the cross that priest makes on you is actually a hex or a block to close your third eye, to deprive you of your own connection to the cosmos. So he is both casting a spell of death and decay at you, while at the very same time cursing your infinite and immortal cosmic connection by placing a symbol of decay at that very spot. And people are lining up like sheep in every church on the planet to get this done. Now, if you think that those who go to church are not sheep, then why do priests call their parishioners their, and I'm going to quote, flock? You know, they're not talking about a flock of geese. You know, they're literally are calling them, their parishioners, a flock of sheep. So, how does that give you warm and fuzzies about your words and about using the power of the spoken word? And that was put together by a man named Bradley Love. And God, you got to look him up on the internet. He has got some really, really interesting, and the way I look at it, spot on articles. And they make you think. And if what I just didn't say about words and their usages didn't make you think, well, it should, then you realize that every time you speak a word, you are casting a spell at whoever you speak it. You're using the power of the spoken word. And actually, this is a form of mastership. And once you understand it, you're responsible for everything you say, because why? You now know better. So before you speak, try to think of what you're going to say and how those words are going to affect that person. And don't say things in anger. Because the angrier you are, the more you're putting that energy out. And again, use the power of the spoken word. It's just going to get worse, and amplify it and really put it out in creation. And you can do that with good things too. So again, this is creation we're talking about. And using simple words in our language and how they're affecting us, and we don't even know it. So I hope that helped you all. And let's go on now and do a light circle and something for the earth that really, 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 we need it. So for those of you going to participate, I want you to sit down, put your feet flat on the floor, and imagine, I want you to close your eyes. And as you sit up straight, I want you to feel this golden cord come from the top of your head, and you're going to connect it to the Creator. And you're going to feel all that divine energy come pouring into your body. And you're going to imagine to the right of you, there's a lot of people. To the left of you, a lot of people. And we're going to form this huge circle. And at the very center of the circle, we're going to put my big Earthkeeper crystal to amplify the work we do. So as you're allowing all this divine energy to flow down, imagine it coming into the top of your head and just filling your body up with this high energy of light. And in your mind's eye, I want you to imagine yourself taking the hands of the person on the right and the person on the left. So we're forming this huge, huge, huge circle. And I want you to imagine this high energy coming down your right arm and out your right hand. And you're going to send it into the person to the right. And as this energy flows to the right, we're going to ask that all the other energy groups that are doing light work, their energy is added to what we're doing. We're going to call the Sai Baba, Shirdi Baba, Prima Sai Krishna, Jesus, Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, and all the gods and goddesses of light, all the angels, the archangels, air, earth, fire, and water. And we're going to invite them into our circle to add their energy to what we're doing and amplify our work. We call to our guardian angels, and imagine your guardian angel standing between you, between us, standing to the right and putting their hands over your hands and adding their energy. I'm going to ask your divine mate to send one of their soul cells out and to feel them stand behind you and putting their hands on your shoulder and adding that energy to what you're doing to amplify our work. And now send love and light to the left. And as the energy flows to the left, the circle is now closed, so only that which is light may enter. We call to the trees and ask that the trees join us and send the energy into the earth so she can feel what we're doing, and through her branches send it out so humankind can react in a positive light. We call to all the rock, stones, crystals, minerals, all the earth keepers to lock into our big earth keeper crystal in the center and amplify our work 100,000-fold. We call to all the grids, ley lines, meridians, domes, obelisks, all the holy and sacred spots on the planet to lock into this light circle. And I ask that everyone participating receives a healing, and that, Mother, Father, God, you guide us into doing not our will, but thy will be done. So you're going to release the hands of the people and feel that energy flow down. And we're going to form this incredible bubble of light in the center. And in this bubble of light, we're going to put a power prayer for the bees. So in the name of the presence of God, which I am, through the magnetic power, the sacred fire vested in me, I command, I call to Michael the Archangel and ask that these ties are cut between the bees and all microwave technology, that people become aware that microwave energy is causing the bee colonies to collapse. As they become aware, they choose to use their cell phones less, shutting them off completely when not in use, or going back to landlines with the understanding that we need bees to pollinate over 40% of our crops. We surround all the hives in a protective energy shield that keeps out all the microwave energy. We send energy to all the bees and ask that their DMT is enhanced. As they are reconnected to the Creator, we see the bees becoming more focused and at one with each other as the queen bee is inspired to what she needs to do to hold the colony together as one functioning unit. We send a mild grounding energy to the bees so they become more centered, allowing each worker to do their jobs in harmony with each other. We violet flame all the propolis to clean it up as we reconnect this to the Creator. It acts as a protection, an antibiotic for the bees so they become healthier every time they come in contact with the hive. We ask Michael the Archangel to cut all ties to all mites the bees have that is making them ill. We violet flame these mites to clean up their energies, reconnecting them to the Creator. Now we command them to be neutral and die off, which allows the bees to become stronger and healthier. We ask that the bees are now inspired to go where there are no GM crops, instead being guided to healthy plants and flowers. We see people now growing more organic herbal gardens for the bees that will enhance their immune systems. We see people being inspired to leave out fresh water for the bees and planting red and purple flowers that bees really enjoy the vibrations of. We call to the higher selves of all beekeepers, asking that they now practice holistic beekeeping, leaving the bees with enough of their own supply of honey so they can also feed themselves with the fruits of their own labor, not using pesticides on the bees to kill off the mites or any other health issues they have, instead growing healthier crops and giving the bees time and trusting that they will develop a natural immunity resistance over the multiple generations with their new organic farming methods that we are now asking the divine to inspire them with. We are now sending energy to the queen bee that will inspire her to hold the hive together in harmony. We are now sending energy to the bee's life force so they become healthy and multiply. Let's give thanks and send out much love to the bees for all they have given us, our plant life and the crops, as well as all the byproducts we use, including beeswax for candles. So fill this bubble of light up and see all the bees recharging and regenerating, reconnecting with the Creator. So let's fill it all up with light and love and take a deep breath and release it. All right, so take a deep breath and again feel that divine energy flow down and direct it toward the center, forming another bubble of light. So in this bubble of light, let's do a prayer for the water elemental and all sea life. And I want to dedicate this to all my doll friends and the whale friends that I swim with. Let there be light in the name of the presence of God, which I am, through the magnetic power, the sacred fire vested in me, I command. I call to Michael the Archangel and ask that all negative ties that the water elemental is taken on be cut from them, transmuted by the violet flame, and filled with so much love that the water elemental reconnects to the Creator. Now let's imagine this beautiful divine healing energy coming up through the earth, flowing into all waters on the planet. As we focus on the ocean, we see this healing energy recharging all plankton and flowing into the coral reefs. As we send this healing energy into the coral reefs, we ask the Creator to put the spark of life back into the coral reefs on the planet. We now see all the reefs coming back to life and flourishing. As we send this energy, this healing energy through the waters, we see it neutralizing all radiation, poisons, toxins, and all pharmaceutical drugs that are in it. This healing energy is also helping the water circulate, so it's at its perfect divine temperature. See this healing energy neutralizing all out of balance sound, including all sonar. We trace the sonar energy back to its source, and as we cut the ties to all machines used, violet flame them to clean them up angel light energy to heal. Fill them up with love as we reconnect them to the Creator. We can't command them to be neutral by breaking down regularly or just stop functioning. We now send a peaceful white noise through the oceans and all waters on the planet. Let's imagine now all this healing energy surrounding all sea life, and we see them all reconnecting to the Creator so they may fulfill their divine missions and be healthy. We send our special telepathic thoughts to all sea life, dolphins, whales, sharks, mantas, all sea life, to be guided where the water sanctuaries are to heal and be safe. We see the violet flame blazing through all sea life to help them transmute all chemicals they may have ingested all the way down to the DNA. As all sea life is reconnected to the Creator, we ask the Creator to awaken all sea life's blueprint for perfect health and put it into effect now. Let's put our attention on the Gulf of Florida or any water that has had oil or chemicals spilled in it, including the Honolulu Bay. We ask the Mother Earth to release lots of microorganisms that are needed to eat up the oil and chemicals that were dumped there. We see people being divinely inspired with new thoughts on how to clean up the oil spills. That's very easy to do with no cost, involving Mother Nature, with gifts to clean up the mess. We also ask that all who live there are filled with lots of strength, courage, and divine inspiration in all the natural ways they need to heal. May they receive all needed medicines for free, along with all the legal means to take the government and companies responsible for the pollution to court and win. We again call the violet flame through these waters to transmute all dark energy the water elemental must mirror. See lots of energy going through the North Atlantic current to keep it flowing so it will help our planet keep its perfect temperature. I want you now to see millions and millions of huge bottles of clean, pristine mineral water that are 10 miles high, 10 miles long, 10 miles wide, or inches apart from each other all over the oceans. Inside these bottles of pristine oxygenated water, let's place all the minerals, plankton, kelp, and whatever else the sea life needs to have to survive. See these bottles becoming sanctuaries for all sea life to go to. We now command the water elemental to mirror the bottles of water. We see the ocean clearing up and becoming healthy and vibrant again with an abundance of flourishing, healthy sea life. We ask the angels, divas, and all cosmic beings to keep all the radiation junk that is floating in the ocean from Fukushima off of all shores and sent to a newly created black hole that will take it off our planet now. I call to the goddess of justice to wield your sword and to send those that created this mess all the karmic return they deserve now. I ask that their karmic return is amplified over 100,000-fold. I ask that all their income, if it's for their highest good, is taken from them and sent to all the people they have harmed for their health care and to replace all lost incomes and for the cleaning up of the planet. I see all government officials responsible for all cover-ups, receiving their just karmic dues now, losing their jobs and going to prison, replaced by a light worker that will be of service to all, compassionate, with high integrity. I see all magic keeping those responsible from being brought to justice, being dissolved, along with all energy veils of invisibility and protection gone. And let's put in this bubble of light all those people out there, which includes you, everyone on the planet, in this bubble of light, and let them also recharge. And let them be given a healing. And see everything reconnecting to the Creator. And as that happens, we're also going to ask for a DNA healing. All right, now fill this bubble up with much light and love. And let's take a deep breath and release it. All right, so again, take a deep breath and feel all that divine energy flow down. And we're going to create another bubble of light. And in this bubble of light, we're going to put in the power of prayer to help Mother Earth regain dominance over Monsanto. So Mother Earth is dominant over anything created by Monsanto and companies. So in your mind's eye, imagine Mother Earth that she is dominant over anything created by Monsanto and any of their companies. Mother Earth is dominant over anything created by Monsanto and companies. We call to Michael the Archangel to cut ties to all who created any kind of genetically modified anything on the planet, including all black magicians, giving GMO life and energy to everyone working on any kind of Monsanto facility, including all ETs, reptilians, reptilian hybrids, or humans. From the thought of their GMO lab-created inventions being dominant over all God-created elementals, including our food supply, this also includes whoever first thought of the idea, to the money backers, lab scientists, all helpers, techs, and secretaries, all the way down to the cleanup crew. See all oaths, vows, wishes, dreams, and any overlays connecting all of the above to each other being removed from each other. Now, see this energy between them being dissolved by the violet flame and replaced with the human traits of love, compassion, kindness, and a love for the earth. We ask that all who are trying to take GMO forward to step forward in the light of God and choose to stop, realizing as they reconnect to the Creator what they have done and do all they can to reverse the damage to the earth. If they choose to continue to do harm to the planet, which is their free will, I ask the Creator and their guardian angel to put them all in positions of harmlessness. We cut ties to all their money sources, including funding, redirecting it all to that, are trying to save and help the earth heal. Now, to put them in a position of harmlessness can simply mean they may decide to retire and they may decide they need more family time. So they step back, allowing a light worker to take their place or no one. So we see everything connected to Monsanto falling apart. Everything on all levels, cars, planes, all farm and lab equipment, computers, GMO seeds, sand, animals, all communication devices, and all world domination plans. All lawsuits against any organic farmer crumbling as we speak. We see Monsanto also being forced out of all government positions and blocked from phoning, lobbying, or donating money to any elected official. See Monsanto being removed from the FDA. See Monsanto not only losing all military government contracts with their private army, but having to disband it. See all countries removing them from their spaces and making them accountable for what they have done. See all countries making Monsanto accountable now. See all countries making Monsanto accountable now. See all countries making Monsanto accountable now. So we now call the Creator, cosmic being, divas, angels, all life forms to join as one group to help us recharge all the elementals, air, earth, fire, and water that creates our mother planet. I call to all the crystals on the planet and ask that they now amplify the DMT of all plants and all animal life forms, allowing everything to reconnect to the Creator. As this happens, see all plants, animals, and all life forms remembering their divine blueprint to perfect health. See Mother Nature remembering that she has dominance on the planet. See all plants becoming stronger as they reconnect to the Creator, so no GMO alteration can affect it. See Mother Nature regaining her strength, and we also release her from all traumas she has taken on. We now see Mother Nature taking back the planet in a gentle, kind, loving way. See her natural God seed blowing onto all GMO crops and changing the GMO back to its natural state. We see all GMO seed dying out and refusing to grow. We call to the Goddess of Truth to bring up to the surface where all the GMO crops are, so they may be taken down and replanted with God-made seed. We now see everything GMO lose its resistance to Mother Nature and being overjoyed so that now it can go back to its natural state. We also send the planet healing energy to all the fault lines that are in stress. We send the violet flame through those areas, transmuting all built up energy in a gentle, kind way. And we see the earth gently ratcheting herself in many small movements. We ask that all earthquakes, prophecies are neutralized with stronger, positive thought forms of calm and peace. So now imagine in your mind's eye, Mother Earth is dominant over anything created by Monsanto.
Hang on, folks. For some reason, we seem to have lost Cathy. Trying to get her back. Getting call failed. I'm going to have to get Hawk to set me up with some kind of music for times like this because I normally don't have anything to chit-chat about. I keep trying to call her in and I keep getting call failed. Sorry for the interruption when she was in the middle of her blessing, but hopefully she will be back on. If not, I apologize. Technical glitches happen quite often on live radio, and we just kind of have to roll with the punches. I'm sorry for the craziness in my voice. I'm recovering from an illness, and I'm going to try to call her on her work phone to see if I can get her on her work phone. So bear with us. We'll be there. Tonight I can't blame it on my cats. A lot of times my cats are very quick and they have been known to hack the station more times than one. Okay, I'm going to try her work phone now and see if that... Man, she is completely gone. Completely gone. until I can reach her, I am going to simulcast Studio A so there won't be complete and total dead air. And I have absolutely no chit chat to fill in. So hold on and we will simulcast.